We're going to welcome on stage now Laura Foster, the Chief Compliance Officer at James E. Wagner Cultivation, Lou Senatore from Compliance Quest, and Linda Considine, yes, from Rootstock, integrating a solution in the cannabis space which marries compliance and ERP systems, and they're cloud-based, and they're going to talk about that. But before they do, and Laura doesn't know I'm going to do this, but Laura, I would like her to talk about how James E. Wagner Cultivation actually cultivates cannabis, which is not about ERP or compliance or any of that, but it is compelling. And I've been trying to stalk James Wagner for a long time and the company. So take it away and give a little bit of an introduction first.
So yeah, thank you guys for having me. And my name's Laura. I'm from James Wagner Cultivation. And we are a licensed producer of cannabis, and we produce all of our cannabis using a unique methodology, aeroponics. And my brothers and myself and my sister-in-law, we developed our aeroponic platform, and we also have proprietary software that goes along with that. It's very data-driven, data-focused. And so with that, I'm just going to segue into our panelists here. And so please, everyone, welcome Lou Senatore from Compliance Quest and Linda Considine from Rootstock. So to start off, can you guys just briefly introduce yourselves and explain the relationship between your companies, and give us a little bit of background about what expertise from other sectors you bring to the relationship?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Linda Considine. I'm the RVP of Sales for Rootstock Software. I'm headquartered right here out of the US. I cover Eastern Canada, which is basically Calgary East, and then also some of the key Midwest states. So we're basically looking at the development of the cannabis industry from the Canadian and the US perspective. I have a strong cloud software, manufacturing, supply chain, human capital background, and I've been working in this industry for about 25 years.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lou Senatore. I'm a solution engineer for Compliance Quest. I've spent about 20 plus years in the enterprise quality and compliance space, and most of that time was spent focused on working with highly regulated industries, so medical device industries, food and beverage, and pharmaceutical. So Compliance Quest, we're focused on enterprise cloud-based quality management. So we hope to bring a lot of our experience in a lot of these other highly regulated industries to the cannabis industry.
How is the cannabis industry similar to other highly regulated sectors, as you mentioned, in regards to compliance, ERP, EQMS systems, and also how is it unique?
Yeah, so let's start off by saying, how many people in the room have heard of Salesforce as a CRM, as a leading CRM? Everyone going in. So what Lou and I want to establish that in addition to Salesforce being the leader in CRM, they are also the leader in what the market's named platform as a service architecture. So Salesforce is the leading enterprise cloud platform. And Rootstock ERP and Compliance Quest are natively developed on the Salesforce platform, which makes us in a very unique position as the first ERP full best-of-breed compliance application built on a cloud-first leading platform, secure and scalable. So we've really been looked at as the next generation solution for high-growth cannabis companies in this marketplace. So going back to Laura's question, what is unique about the cannabis industry, or what's the same? And I think as we work with LPs, what we're finding, and you heard some of the earlier speakers talk about inventory management. But now, when you look at growth potential, companies are coming to us and they actually need full ERP, manufacturing, raw material support, full supply chain management, full mature costing architecture, driving full financial management, completely integrated with a best-of-breed quality management system. So as we talk about compliance, you're going to hear us talk about compliance from a full end-to-end business process and management perspective, and then the ability of a QMS system to be integrated into that business process for supporting your business.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I've spent probably the past 30 to 60 days focusing a lot of my time and attention on this. And just looking at some of the regulations specifically focused on the cannabis industry, I found a lot of similarities to the things that I was doing in the pharmaceutical space, the FDA GMPs. very similar to the GPPs from Health Canada. And the interesting part that I found as well is the products can be broken down into one, a medicinal product, so potentially an ingredient that would go into a formulation for a drug, which would then go through standard clinical trials and whatnot and be potentially enforced also by the FDA. But it's also a food product. So there's regulations and compliance with things like sanitation for grow rooms and whatnot. So these are all things that I found interesting, is that it's sort of a combination of a lot of the different things that I experienced in working with other highly regulated industries. And I think, again, what we bring to the table here is taking the experience that we have, not just from a technical standpoint of how can we make this piece of software comply with this standard, but really understand the nature of the business and what we're trying to accomplish from a business standpoint, but also be in compliance. So I guess the core of the message is, we're not building for compliance, we're building for business, with compliance as being sort of the carry-on, if you would, benefit.
Great. As we all know, this industry is full of twists and turns and surprises. What has surprised you most about how this industry is developing?
Yeah, we talk frequently internally as why is 2019 kind of the year of cannabis within our business overall. And we think that the approval of recreational cannabis has been a big driver for companies to be ready to scale operations. And the nature of producing for medical, selling to one customer a few products is very different than the opportunity that recreational provides, right? So the idea that you have to start thinking about what assets that you buy, what are your end products mix going to be, how do you sell to the end customer and manage all the complexity of that business, we think is a much bigger business issue that requires more sophisticated software.
Well, just from being here today, I can say, as an industry, and this is maybe a little tongue-in-cheek, as an industry that's focused on potentially slowing things down a little bit, this has been a very fast-paced event. So that's been something that surprised me, and how fast-moving in general the industry has gone. You've heard things in the news about cannabis. You've seen companies kind of go from nothing to being very, very large companies with large investments, and it all happened very quickly. And it's very rare that I think you have an opportunity to be at a tipping point within an industry that is moving so quickly. So for me, usually with products, especially medicinal products, it takes a very long time for those products to come to market. So that's the exciting part, and sort of the thing that's not shocked me, but been surprising.
Yeah, definitely. And on that note, what makes your platform particularly well suited to an industry like the cannabis industry right now that is so high growth, high paced, no slowing down? How does that work?
The nature of being native to Salesforce has really been the differentiator for us, in that we have a full suite of full ERP capabilities. So this idea that Salesforce is known for clicks and not code, fast, rapid development, flexible. A lot of the companies that we're working with, they know who they are today, but they don't necessarily know who they're going to be 5 years from now. So the ability to have an architecture that's multi-financial company, multi-currency, able to go global, can support make-to-stock, make-to-order, custom manufacturing. This idea that we can be configured to meet future opportunities is one that has differentiated us. And we, with Compliance Quest and Salesforce CRM, we took a Tier 1 LP off of an older platform, full operational go live in less than 7 months. And that's a key differentiator for us.
Yeah. From a technical standpoint, Salesforce has allowed our company to do things we otherwise would not be able to do. It is a mature platform that has developed one of the most sophisticated configuration, technologies on the planet. The amount of things that you can do with this platform, as you mentioned, from a clicks not code perspective, is really unmatched in a lot of ways. But it also gives you a lot of opportunities to extend that through things like custom software development. So they have a very strong ecosystem of applications or apps within their App Exchange. I think it's actually the largest one. In addition to that, a very strong ecosystem of developers that specialize in Salesforce. So what that means is you're getting a very mature piece of technology that is extremely well supported and a large community of people that are continuing to support that. So instead of building something from the ground up, which would have taken us a lot longer time, we decided to use and leverage Salesforce. Now, on the flip side, in addition to that, because we're on the same platform, that allows us to integrate more easily than potentially it would have been otherwise. So because we're essentially on the same development team to a degree, because it's the same underlying technology, that connecting with rootstock so that we can manage the inspection process or generate non-conforming material reports is so much easier. I can tell you that when I started in this industry, this was not an easy task to integrate quality management systems, in particular with ERP systems. Just was not easy. So this has really made it much more, I shouldn't say easy, but much faster, especially for cannabis companies that are looking to move quick.
Yeah, so we've actually productized the integration between Rootstock ERP and Compliance Quest. So we've done the UX UI, the business process, and then all of the data integration, linking your day-to-day business processes to quality touch points that make sense, right? An inspection order in Rootstock is directly integrated to Compliance Quest for further processing. And then we can't overlook just the simple fact of having all of your data on a simple platform and the ability that every transaction is time-stamped and audit-ready and measurable, the ability to be able to prove you're in compliance. Software enables you to be in compliant, and then you have to measure how you're doing against your internal standards.
Great. So given the quick pace of change in this industry, how do your platforms accommodate things like customer wishes, quickly changing regulatory landscapes, quick pace of expansion, new product types? How do you maintain the flexibility and how do you accommodate those?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of nuggets in that question, but this flexible platform that we're built on, we are managed packages within Salesforce, and I think people here are familiar with kind of the cloud value proposition that you buy our software as a subscription, and all the enhancements to that product are given to you, over time, within that. But even within our collective, everything that we show you, everything that you'll see on our websites is built and ready to configure out of the box. But that doesn't mean that it's not extensible, even within that cloud value proposition, that we can enhance it to even address, specific needs. So it's that extensibility and leveraging the platform along with our, very strong intellectual property around manufacturing configurability that differentiates us in the market.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can add much to that answer. I think that really echoes the approach that we take and sort of the benefits that we have. Really, I'm not sure how much I can add to that response.
The industry's moving fast. I mean, that was your prior question, just speed. Our traditional manufacturing customers don't have the same immediate opportunity, the need to put systems in place very quickly to capitalize on a market opportunity. We're seeing that here, and the application is well suited for that.
What do you feel is the biggest pain point currently that you see within the Canadian cannabis industry in regards to compliance, ERP, EQMS, and how do you address those pain points?
Yeah, I think the biggest pain point is that the industry started with kind of compliance-focused point solutions and then realized and emerged that they're full manufacturing and distribution and supply chain companies. So then, looking backwards to say, okay, how do we really support our manufacturing needs? The idea that we have machines, the idea that we have sales orders that are converted to work orders. We have capacity issues. We have throughput issues. We have to, all the day-to-day problems that manufacturing face, large-scale operations here in the cannabis industry face as well. So I think cannabis companies are forward-thinking. I believe I've seen that they're cloud-first buyers, and it's just getting that platform architecture in place to be able to have a full ERP configured quickly in order to bring quality management in and deliver on the needs of the business with all of these compliance capabilities, just supporting your business processes.
Yeah, and just from a compliance perspective, I think the challenges are really the same, and especially the same that I've seen in other industries. And that is, with most regulations, there are some that are very literal, and they tell you exactly what you're supposed to do. These are the steps that you have to take. These are the measurements that you have to take. And these are the results that are in compliance. And anything out of that would be considered out of spec or out of compliance. And then there are essentially those guidelines that they give you a framework of, how we think you should do something. Do you need to have a documentation control system? Yes, we think this is a good idea. But how do you deploy that is entirely up to you. And how the inspector or regulator enforces it is completely unknown. And it's up to their own interpretation or internal. So for me, those are the discussions that, some of the biggest challenges with any regulations. And so as I think about some of the things that we faced even, one of the largest challenges I think is companies who they understand what they think they understand what they want to do, but they don't really. So understanding there's internal requirements. So having a system in place, before you can automate any system, you must have some level of requirements built. You must understand what the things that you want to do out of that system are. And I think a lot of people think that, off-the-shelf cloud-based systems are a magic bullet that'll just solve that problem. So we don't have to think about it. We'll just buy this off-the-shelf product. That's not the case. You still have to think about what you want so that you can properly decide on what product best meets those needs.
But then as you change and as your understanding of what you need evolves, the software has to evolve with you. And I think that's where the industry is. And I remember demoing Compliance Quest to one of our top LP companies, and the CIO was texting me going, my quality manager's, she's about to cry. This address turned so well.
So I hear you talking a lot about manufacturing. In the cannabis industry, we don't often think of ourselves as manufacturers per se. That said, what are the similarities there? And is your program a fully encompassing, seed to finished product, or does it start at the point of like a biomass or an input?
Yeah, there's two questions there, and I'll start with the first. We see in working with this at the CIO level, finally I think CIOs are coming to us and saying, we are a manufacturing company. We grow our own, manage our own supply chain, but we convert raw materials into a portfolio of finished goods. So a system to support that business has to have sales orders. It has to be able to break a sales order down into work orders. If you really want to run a tight costing operation, you have to be able to collect labor and your production rates in order to be able to manage capacity properly. What is the capacity, of your different production lines and so forth. So all of these manufacturing themes around shop floor, barcoding, printing labels, supporting packaging, lines are all what manufacturing ERP systems do extremely well. Again, integrated to a compliance capability.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously, from a quality compliance perspective, not taking as large of a role in a lot of that process as an ERP system might, but I like to think of us as a defense mechanism maybe, or protection around those processes that essentially help protect them from federal regulators from stopping their business and stopping those productions, or essentially levying fines that may also impede some of those processes. I was very fortunate enough to work at a tipping point in the pharmaceutical industry where very large sums of fines were levied against companies that drove the industry. I mean, this essentially drove the quality management industry for a lot of years, which is, hundreds of millions of dollars being, enforced by different regulators and literally stopping operations. And the one thing that I learned from all this was during a conversation with one of my clients at the time, he shared with me that the federal regulators came in and shut down their business in one of their Puerto Rican sites, I think it was. But the story he told me was that it was the result of poor communication and a poor relationship with that federal regulator. So it wasn't because they broke the rules. It's because they may have not had the right things in place. The regulators said, we'd like you to do this. We think this is a good idea. And they ignored them. And then they repeatedly ignored them until the point in time in which they said, enough is enough, guys. You know, we're going to take real serious action. And at that point in time, it scared the heck out of everybody. And, you know.
We're getting a
that
little
was
low
it.
on time, but one last question.
Yeah.
What specific business problems or risks does Compliance Quest address, and how does Rootstock help?
You want to start? Yeah, just core quality management for modules.
Well, I mean, from a core quality management perspective, we are focused on helping companies manage problems. So sources of problems can come from customer complaints. They could come from audits. They could come from inspections, non-conforming materials. So these are all things that we've included as modules within our platform. And once you identify an actual problem, then you go through the assessment phase of what do we do with this, right? Is this a serious problem? Is this a minor problem? Is this something we just log for analytics purposes? Or is this something that we need to investigate and define some level of corrective and or preventive measure to remediate the issue? So this, at the core, is what we're doing from a quality management perspective, is really that end-to-end process.
Yeah, and so Salesforce also has a Service Cloud component, which is really a case management application. So the idea, so I think about recalls, right? It's a great example of you have a recall on a certain lot number that comes through the case management, or an RMA. Just using the global search within the Salesforce platform, the way that Rootstock is architected, you can put that lot number into the global search. It will show you every customer, every work order, every aspect of your supply chain where that lot number was touched and where it is. So it's like just one search, you can kind of get that full view to manage any type of recall situation. And that's just using the default power of the platform in the way that Rootstock and Compliance Quest are architected. So it's a great use case for the cannabis industry.
That sounds great. Thank you guys so much for being here. A round of applause for our panelists. And thanks, guys, for listening.
Wow.